to do that. We have to be careful that we don't overwork and abuse those who have this special gift, but they will fulfill obligations to the end. They get absorbed in a product. And often a server will have a disregard for weariness and will freely use up personal assets of time and money and strength to get a task done. Sometimes, now, they don't like red tape. And I have to tell the servers, you've got to do the red tape. So they won't have to get a purchase order because it's going to take 20 minutes extra to do that and they're on a time schedule. They'll pull out some of their own money and pay for something just to get it done and not have to lose time. And after a while, that could get expensive. And that's really not the way that it should be done. So they do get absorbed in a project, but they want to put special touches. Sometimes they almost go overboard. If you don't tell a server, you don't give them limits, there's no telling what you're going to end up with. It'll be nice, but they'll go the second mile. And I know through the years, I used to, when I was a singles minister, we'd have once a quarter, we'd have a luncheon. We'd have somebody come in and cater it. You'd pay $3 or $4. And all I want to do, let's serve, let's have it, and then, have the tables ready and people sit and eat. But if we had somebody was in charge who was a server, boy, you wouldn't believe the decorations you would have just to sit down and eat a meal after church on Sundays. That was okay as long as they cleaned it up. I didn't have to do it. But anyway, they like to do things that are short term. They have a desire to see a task fulfilled. They're attracted to immediate needs. They get frustrated with long-range planning or a continuous project where they see little visible progress done. All right, fourth characteristic, follow orders to expectations. If you give a server the expectations that you have, they will acknowledge it and be faithful to follow orders if fully understood. They need and desire clear direction and need to know their limits. When you read about the life of Timothy, and we'll look at some verses tonight, Paul was more specific with Timothy than anything else. He said, Timothy, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. Several times he would be very specific. And then they will accelerate to help produce something. They like to see results. If not given guidelines, they'll try to avoid committees and what appears again to be red tape to avoid delays. So, they follow orders to expectation. Final characteristic, they need to feel appreciated for their efforts. Paul said, verse 22, you know the proof of him, that as a son to a father, he has served with me in the gospel. I noticed that several times throughout Paul's writings, he gives a word of commendation to Timothy. In some way, he's telling people how good that Timothy is. People with the gift of serving need to feel appreciated for their efforts. One thing you'll find about servers, they're always with people. And here's something I would encourage you to do with those who are servers. Don't ever say, well, my workers. They like to work with people, not for people. And particularly when you're doing something in the church and people aren't getting paid to do it and they're giving a lot of time and effort to it, I always tend to use that word, we have done this. My fellow helpers, don't say my workers. Some of them may overlook that, but sometimes they won't. That's very important as they want to feel appreciated for their efforts. And they're around people, and they like to get affirmation from their peers. It confirms that their work is necessary. Paul praised Timothy again more than any of his assistants. Characteristics of the gift of serving. They find opportunities to assist. Number 2, to free others to achieve. Number 3, they fulfill obligations to the end. Number 4, they follow orders to expectation. Number 5, they like to feel appreciated for their efforts. And I tell you what, who wouldn't? And that's something we need to keep in mind as we think about the servers in our churches. Only the gift of mercy. More people have the gift of mercy than serving. And I tell you what, some of the things that are going to make our church operate, matter of fact, Glenn's going to be making an announcement in a minute about the need of workers in Combs Hall. to help do some things prior to the other professionals, the paid professionals who are going to come in and do some things there. But I tell you what, I think anyone who doesn't have the gift of serving but serves in the church would just say today, if you've got this gift, that it's noticeable that you're naturally caring. Because I can tell you, in every church, it was obvious to me from day one. I learned some people in this church that whether it was a dinner at a home or it was here at this church, there were some people who were always going to be there. Their favorite spot was in the kitchen. And they just seem to be more comfortable there and enjoy that. And so there are 3 ways you can be a server, though. As a hostess, then someone who's just helping, and then as a herald, where you take guidelines or orders sometimes from somebody and you go out and fulfill that for them. But it's also necessary, because boy, think about people who don't have legs. And that's what the server represents. We can do some things, but oh, how handicapped is a person when they don't have the use of their legs. Well, it's hard in a 30-minute television program to be able to give all the qualities and characteristics of the spiritual gift of serving. So in just a moment, you're going to be given some information how you can get a copy of a book that will deal more in depth with what I covered tonight in my sermon, Naturally Caring, that tells about the motivational spiritual gift of serving. But I also want to remind you again of a concert on May 20th at 2 p.m. that will be at Central Baptist Church in Oak Ridge. On May 20th, we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of our church. And at 2 o'clock that afternoon, we're having a celebration concert, and the Booth Brothers will be our featured group. It's a free concert, and we're not even receiving a love offering. And so we're inviting you to come and celebrate with us and have a great time in the Lord on May 20th at 2 p.m. And now, as we close tonight's broadcast, my daughter Melody has some information for you on how you can get a copy of a book that I've written on spiritual gifts titled Channel a Blessing.
Did you know that you are gifted? Well, it's true. God has uniquely gifted each of His children. The use of your spiritual gift allows the church to function as it should, brings blessings to you and others, and provides opportunities for God to work through your life. Channel of Blessings, a book by Dr. Bobby Mullins, my pastor, is just the book to take you on a spiritual journey. It will not only give you an in-depth look at your spiritual gift, but also an in-depth look at the spiritual gift of others, and it will show you how your gift can be used within the church. This book is not only good for your personal fulfillment, but as well it can be used as a teaching supplement. How would you like to get a copy of this book? You can go to both locations of the Knoxville Lifeway Christian Bookstore or the Cedar Springs Christian Bookstore located on North Peters Road, or get an email copy via www.masterdesign.org or call our church. We'll be happy to help.